Hello, wrestling fans. We're back again with another edition of the Shoot Interview Series with Highspots. Believe it or not, this is Vampiro. You may not recognize him. We didn't.
Look, how's that? Can you tell?
Notice the tattoos. It's really him. I want to thank you for joining us today.
Cheers.
He's been a very difficult man to get a hold of, and he's been sought after by a number of companies trying to do this interview. I want to thank
By the
you
RCMP.
for starting at nearly 1:30 in the morning. We always start off asking the questions is how you got started in a crazy business.
I was playing hockey in Canada. Do I look at you or the camera? Is this like super informal? Because I'm kind of all over.
Yeah, we're not even going to edit this out.
You don't edit nothing?
No, we'll edit some.
No, you don't edit nothing. It's better that you don't.
All right.
So.
You can look at either one of us.
All right. So, anyways, I was playing hockey in Canada, and it got to a point where I was kind of getting burnt out on it, you know, because I came from a small town, and because of my size and you know I was pretty athletic, I was advancing quite quickly, and but because in Canada at that time, because of your age limit, you weren't allowed to go to a higher level, so you couldn't progress the way you should have. Mm-hmm. So I was really getting bored with it, and about that time I first got into alternative music, punk rock music. You know, I met a guy from Sweden, and he gave me the Sex Pistols record and the first Clash record, and I heard that, and that was pretty well it. You know, I was just completely blown away, and I started having a falling out in school, and I was really getting into alternative music, and it was really hard to find. So the more I dug, the deeper I got into it, and back then there wasn't a hot topic, and MTV didn't even exist. Mm-hmm. And I was starting to get really rebellious in school and things like that. So the AWA started coming on TV where I lived, and the Road Warriors were on TV one day, and I was like, there's rock and roll and hockey. There's the perfect mix. It was pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I saw the Road Warriors, that was it for me. I was hooked, and I found out there was a company in Montreal, International Wrestling, that was run by the Russo brothers. And I left home, and I went to a local show, and I tried to meet whoever, and I begged and pleaded, and I bugged Abdullah the Butcher until he wanted to stab me for real with a fork. And everybody was like, "Kid, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "I just want to be a wrestler." And they were, "How old are you?" I said, "I just turned 15. I can't go home." I said, I gotta be a wrestler. And I bugged him so much that Abdullah finally broke down and said, "Look, let this kid do something. Just get him the hell away from me before I kill him." Mm-hmm. So I started setting up the ring and selling programs, and running to and from the dressing room, getting the guys Coca-Colas and hot dogs and coffees, and carrying their jackets to the ring, and getting my ass beat by them before the matches. They thought it was real.
Training before the match.
Yeah, a lot of training. They thought it was real funny. They kicked the shit out of me for 2 years. And that's how I got into the business.
Mm-hmm. How'd you leave?
Thank you for your time, and it's been great.
How'd you move from Canada to California?
On a plane.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What brought you to California?
Oh.
Don't say plane.
The company in Canada closed down. International Wrestling went out of business, and there was nowhere really to go. Even WWF back then wasn't what it was. It was still like a local territory in New York. And they were just starting to get national TV and syndication. And I was drifting from job to job and playing in bands, and I wasn't going anywhere in Canada. And they did a movie in Canada, Eddie and the Cruisers, the second part. And Michael Pere, who was the lead actor, became a friend of mine. And he said he was going to do another movie in Italy when I watched his house in Los Angeles. Well, he went. So I went there, and I watched his house for about 2 weeks, and he had a psycho girlfriend, and she evicted me. So I could basically live underneath a car for like 3 months on Hollywood Boulevard, and I lived on the street in LA, and I just kind of drifted in and out of the rock and roll scene, and it was a fucking horrible time because you're a homeless kid. I was really young. I had no money, and there's a lot of sick people in LA, so I kind of had to learn things real quick. And I started working in a nightclub for Mickey Rourke and Billy Idol. They had this club called Rubber, and you know, it was just a dance club. But I was a doorman, and because of the way I looked and the size I had at that time, and because of my age, you know, I was really young, and I was about the size I am now. You know, and I was the head doorman. A lot of artists would come in there because of who owned the club. You know, like it was back in the day when Harley Davidsons first started to become popular amongst the Hollywood crowd. You know, so Milli Vanilli came into the club one night, and they were about to do the MTV tour. This was before they even broke in North America, and they immediately were looking for a bodyguard, and they saw me working the door, and I had the street look, and it wasn't the look, it was because I was a fucking homeless kid basically, and they offered me a job, and I worked for them for their whole beginning to end, to the scandal, to the exposure. And as soon as that ended, you know, I traveled the world with them, and I learned a hell of a lot about show business because I was with them, and I lived the lie with the biggest people in the world, the top people in the music business and in show business, the top managers, the top the top of the line, because they were the biggest band in the world, period, before the scandal broke. So I sat back, because I knew one day I would have my shot somewhere, somehow. And I sat back and I watched, and when that fell through, I remembered that the company in Canada told me that Mexico was the place to go to learn to wrestle. Went to Mexico. I said I was into vampires and this and that, because, you know, at that time, Anne Rice and Guns N' Roses and that whole looking like you're a junkie look was really big in LA, and I had all that experience from Milli Vanilli. And I took that, and I went to Mexico, and I brought, you know, Mexico never seen rock and roll and wrestling. And I brought that, and Vampiro, that started out as a joke in Mexico, within 2 weeks exploded into the biggest figure in it was comparable to Santo. And if you get mad at me and people disagree with me, I have it all documented on paper, newspapers, magazines, and videotape. The character was the biggest character ever in the history of wrestling, especially for a foreigner. So that's.
How do you think you got over so quickly? Was it just the gimmick? Did you speak any Spanish at the time?
None. It's because, you know, I had that look that was in at the time. You know, the long purple and blue hair and leather jackets and tight leather pants. And I was real thin and real white, and, you know, my blue eyes. And, you know, at the time in Mexico, even today, the wrestlers, you know, they look different. They're, you know, they're not really in great shape. They're, you know, they're dark skinned, and, you know, I was this white, skinny, gothic kid who was into rock and roll. And, you know, usually the people that went to wrestling matches were just beer drinking rednecks, Mexican version. And when I did this whole rock and roll trip, you know, and I was super sincere with the fans, and I was super cool with everybody, and all of a sudden teenage girls started coming. So it was like a fucking boy band thing, you know, the worst nightmare that I could ever have. I mean, it was completely awesome, believe me. I was like 22, and like all of a sudden I was like a teen idol. It changed wrestling in Mexico. It went from being all guys to 100% teenage girls. And I had so much, all the guys hated me, and all of Mexico hated me, the males. And the more they hated me, the more press I got. And it was all girls. So I became something, the character transcended wrestling and went into soap operas, into magazines. I dated a few girls that were singers and actresses and shit like that. And the press, it's not like I had like these big live-in romances, you know what I mean? Well, fuck, we went to the movie one time, but down there it was like, oh my God, like this guy's a wrestler and he's dating this girl and blah, blah, blah. And it was like an explosion in the press. It was phenomenal. It was so bad that, you know, I was wrestling like 30 times a week, sometimes like 6 times a day. Promoters would charter a jet to bring me all over the country, and there was like no less than like 28,000 people per show every day, 4 and 5 times a day for like 8 years straight. And it was nuts. It was nuts. It was just completely out of control. And the character was so over because of the publicity. Definitely not because of the wrestling ability. I mean, I didn't even know how to give a headlock for the first 6 years. I had no idea. That's why I do fucked up things now. I bump really different. I spin, I flip, I land on my head and all that because I never learned how, and that's the only way I know how not to kill myself, is to do those crazy things. Later on in my career, after I started to outgrow the teeny bop thing and I really started to fall in love with wrestling, I realized that I sucked. So I stopped wrestling, and I 100% indulged in learning every martial art that there was to become a good wrestler. And as soon as I learned how to wrestle, and I started beating guys up, and I went to Japan and I learned that whole thing, and I came back and I was like all of a sudden like a great white shark overnight. The girls started to stop, you know, because I wasn't really getting beaten up anymore. So the girls were like, oh, you know. So things started to change, and then the guys started to like me because I was like getting real rough. So at about that time, I started to really get bored of wrestling, and I quit, and I started a band, and I toured in Mexico for like 2 years.
What was the name of the band?
I just used my name, Vampiro. Yeah, and I just basically did that just so I can get drunk and high and try to get girls.
Worked, right?
Yeah, I was an idiot for a long time. And yeah, I had a blast, you know. I regret it because I wish that I regret it, but I don't regret it. I wish that I wish that I had guidance when I was so young and so inexperienced to have that much power, that much money, that much. I was too young to have that responsibility of that level of a success, you know, and it almost killed me because, you know, there came injuries and I had to, you know, the promoters wouldn't let me stop working, and I started having to use pain pills and then sleeping pills and then speed, and the drugs just escalated, and then I couldn't go out at night without being high, and I couldn't go to bed at night without getting high, and it was just like, it was a non-stop fucking cycle. I mean, I think I had like at least 8 drug overdoses. I had one in the ring one time. Heart just stopped. And, you know, my friends were dying from drug overdoses, and I was like, man, fuck, this really sucks, because all I really wanted to do was be a wrestler. Now I'm stuck in a rock and roll band that I'm only doing because I'm bored, and I hate that because I have to be drunk all the time. Then I gotta go to wrestle, and I can't stand doing that because I'm being fucking shot up with synthetic morphine just to go in the ring, and then when I come out, I gotta take like 20 Halcyons just to fall asleep. Gotta be up to do a radio interview in the morning and catch a plane, and I gotta get all fucking speeded up. It was just like a non-stop cycle, and then one day, like, I just quit. I just quit wrestling, and I hated it. I hated everything about wrestling. I hated everything about my life, and it just really sucked. And I was fucking getting attacked by the press, and it just really was really bad. And that's when I met my wife, and she changed everything.
I was going to ask you about the soap opera. There's a debate that you and Conan were up for the same part.
No, we weren't up for the same part. It was just like Tonio Pena took me to the TV station, and they were like, "You're going to do soap opera and make you a big star." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." We went there, and I saw the soap opera, and it was so fucking lame. It was so bad. It was like, you got to be kidding, right? And they were like, "No, this is good for you. It's the publicity." And I was like, "Look, man, this sucks so bad that there is no way in hell." "Oh, well, then you'll never work on..." I said, "Fuck, I don't care if I never work on TV. I don't want to be an actor anyways. This is bad, and I ain't doing it." And I left, and like I had, to this day, I have major heat. And then I guess Conan, you know, thought it would be a good move for him, but I'll just leave it at that.
Well, let's not leave it there. Why don't we just go right into it, because I know a lot of people that are purchasing this video, they want to know how you
Am I
feel
rambling too much?
No.
Is that what you want?
No, I want to know how you feel about Conan, because there's a lot. You'd believe it's the biggest feud ever if you.
Yeah, you know, it's weird because he wished me dead for like 10 years. Like, I don't think the devil hates God more than Conan hated me, and I didn't really have a problem with him. It didn't even faze me.
He was just professional.
We didn't like each other, and I didn't want to be. I just avoided him. It wasn't even an issue with me, but he hated me, and I don't think it was him. I'm almost positive it was the people around him force-feeding him shit. You know, we were both young guys with major power, major money. And I just think that it got to him, and it ate away at him, and people would pump him and pump him and pump him and pump him, and it drove him nuts. Of course, he'd want to kill me, and he did a lot of shit. He blocked me politically pretty well everywhere in the world, and he won't make no bones about it either. When I went to WCW, the reason I sat home for 2.5 years is because he just blocked me. But honest to God, I got nothing bad to say about him. We sat down one day. We sat down for like 8 hours, and I was like, "Look, motherfucker, we ain't gonna fight. I ain't gonna fight you, and I know you want to fight. It's either we're gonna kill each other now in this room, or this has got to stop. I mean, we're men, got families. It's like, let's get it out now." And I mean, now we call each other we're friends. Period. There's no heat. I wish I could tell you more. I wish I could say, "Wow, he was a motherfucker" and all this kind of thing, but I won't, because I don't feel that way, and I never did feel that way. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with a lot of things he did, but that's his business. I mean, I'm a weird guy. He's a weird motherfucker. But, I got nothing but love for him. We just definitely march to the beat of our own drummers. Mm-hmm. They're just different drummers.
Did you say you had any friends when you were...
I don't have any friends today.
Wrestling head in Mexico?
No. Norman Smiley.
Okay,
was like my brother.
Norman called you a friend.
Yeah, I love Norman.
He said Art Barr was a friend.
Art Barr was a friend, but Art Barr, I couldn't, the last 3 months of his life, I couldn't be around him because of the amount of drug use, and seeing somebody die in front of you that was beyond help. He was I don't want to say a junkie, because a junkie is like a drug user, like a junkie's a dirty term. He was a drug addict that was dying, and no matter what we did, it couldn't be stopped. And I've seen death all my life, and especially living on the streets. And I lived on the street in Toronto, I lived on the street in Montreal, I lived on the street in Los Angeles, and I've seen a lot of bad things. I've been around a lot of bad people. I've had to do bad jobs in my life. Not that I'm a criminal, but I've been around that element, because, when you come from nothing and you have nothing, you got to do what you got to do. And you see shit. And Art was dying. And I was in Acapulco after a match, and it was like midnight, and I got a beep. I used to have a beeper, because I didn't like people calling me. I just don't like to be around anybody. I'm so antisocial. It's like really bad. My wife hates me for it. And Norman Smiley said, "You got to call me," and I called him, and he was crying, and I was like, "Fuck." He never cries. Never cries. He said, "Art's dead," just like that. He just no. Hey, sit down. Art died. I was like, it didn't even faze me, because I was like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. It was just like, fuck. It was it was just one of them things. And I was the one who went to Art's room, and out of respect for his family, for his children and his wife, and I went in his room, and I just in case there was something there that didn't need to be found. I was the one who had to go in there and take care of that mess and clean up his stuff, and I had to read his diary, and just to make sure there was something in there that wouldn't hurt somebody later on in life, and it's just really sad. It's really sad, because everybody claims to be Art's friend, and that knew this and knew that, but I'll tell you now, and don't ask me. I'm the one who had the diary, and I'm the one who knows straight up what was up. And a lot of you people say things about Art, and you say you knew and you did this and did that. It ain't like that. You don't need to know, and I won't tell you. And I know if certain people see this, they're going to come to me. Don't ask, because you don't need to know. And that's just something in my heart. And that's that.
Were you using drugs at the time that Art passed away, or
yep.
How much of a wake-up call is it for you?
I used more, because I wasn't happy. Like, my friend died, and work sucked, and fame sucked and the pain sucked and life sucked and it was like everything sucked. So I just you know, in professional sports and that's a shame that people say that wrestling is a work, because it's not. If it was, I wouldn't have as many broken bones and brain damage and whatnot. But especially in Mexico, you know, when you're like a whore, you know, the promoter's a pimp, and they fuck you until you don't draw no more money. You know, when your knee's blowing out and it's the size of a basketball, they'll get a doctor in there and they'll stick in a syringe and they'll suck the blood right out and then they'll pump you full of synthetic morphine and anything else just to get you in that ring. And when you come out, and you're like, oh my fucking God, and you're like vomiting and shaking from the pain, and they whack you again. I mean, you start to learn what drugs get you high and what drugs block out the world. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, things become an addiction. And once you're in, you know, and it takes a real long time to get out. And, you know, I'm very fortunate that, you know, my wife was strong enough to, I don't know, man. I just, you know, one day I had a drug overdose and I saw my body floating. And you know, it's a real weird story, but God said to me, now is the test. Now you're ready to see if you can make it. You're either going to die or I'm going to give you an angel. And you got to take care of the angel. If you take care of the angel, you're a real man. That's when I met my wife. The day I met her, I stopped rock and roll. I stopped my friends. I stopped drugs. It took me a while to completely stop drugs, but hard drugs and being a fuck up. I stopped it all, and that's when I took my work beyond. It became, my work is my obsession. Now, 5 years later, I'm beyond a perfectionist in what I do. I take it extremely serious, and I get very offended when somebody disrespects pro wrestling, because it's what I do to feed my family. So
I'm going to ask you one more question about your past.
Just one? Is that it? Is this the kind of shit you wanted?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's from
Are
the
you
heart.
sure?
It's from the heart, yeah.
Well, yeah.
I want to ask you, because there's, you know, you said you want me to be critical of you.
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of people would say a guy in your position, being famous, being on TV, being a musician, having everything at that young age, they wish they could have it. What? Is it just being your young age where you can't control it? Or?
I think so. I was really mature. And you don't know that you're caught up into it until it's too late.
What's the worst thing about being famous?
Everything. You lose your freedom. You become everything that you were against in the beginning. And it's the most addicting drug in the world. And when your time is up, you don't even get a goodbye or a thank you. Yeah, it's a pretty potent drug. Because, you know, the power. I mean, I don't think anybody is ready for the power, you know. It was just, you're too young for that responsibility, and it's a shame because there's nobody to guide you, you know, and especially in this business where everybody's evil. Wrestling has got to be the most evilest thing out there, you know, especially American wrestlers. Independent American old school wrestlers are like fucking from the devil, you know. They're just bad people, and you can all go fuck yourself too, each and every one of you. And you know, no one there. It's not. You know, I came from a hockey background, so I was used to being a team player, you know, and caring about your buddy. But they'll fucking stab you in the back for a dime in this business, and they'll lie to you, and the promoters lie to you, and the fans are fickle, and it's like, it's just a real hard environment to be in, because a lot of people in wrestling, they're drug addicts and they're drug dealers. And whether you like it or not, look at over the last 15 years how many big names have been murdered or overdosed. I mean, this is a business that caters, you know, these basically everybody here is like a criminal in the United States or in Latin America, Puerto Rico, Mexico. Japan's a little different because Japan, it's like their national sport. So even though pro wrestling and sumo wrestling and any martial arts are a different deal over there, it's part of their culture. But, you know, and I'm not looking to make friends here, so you can all go fuck yourself. It's a hard place to be around, especially if you want to be a family man and you want to be sincere and you want to be proud of what you do. I mean, you go into the dressing room and you're like, it's like you're in prison. I mean, you can't look at nobody in the eye, you can't say shit, you don't ask shit, and you don't know who's gonna get you. It's real evil. Man, I got fucked over so much in WCW. I was supposed to win a world title. I was supposed to win the U.S. heavyweight title. I was supposed to have a certain push. I was supposed to have a certain man, the stuff that happened, it was like, you guys are like children. Like, this is a job. What the fuck is wrong with you people? It's like you egomaniac, insecure, inbred, fucking lying bastards. I mean, you just hate, and you want to be a good person, but it makes you miserable. The power, the TV, and the steroid use, and the roid rages, and the lying, and it's just like, fuck, man. I mean, I got into this because I was your fan. I loved you as a kid. I mean, like, you were God to me. And now I meet you and I go to shake your hand and tell you how much you meant to me. And I got to where I am in my life, which is very, very far. I've been very successful in this business. And you won't even say hello to me? Fuck you. You hate the thing you love. That's the bad thing about fame. Because everybody is a piece of shit. And it's terrible. And it's sad. And I became that. And it took me forever to get out of it.
I want to go back to your, your days when they were trying to bring you into ECW.
They weren't trying to bring me into ECW. I was trying to get into ECW. I got the phone. I was telling somebody today. I forget who I was telling. Sometimes I forget my own name. I got the phone bill because I kept it as you know, I keep weird shit because I'm just a weird guy, and I got my phone bill, $340 of phone messages, not conversations. You know how many fucking phone calls that is, Paul E? Hey man, call me back. You know how many times you get a call, you get a phone bill that big? That's how many times I called Paul E. On my hands and knees. I'll pay my own ticket. I don't want no, I gotta come. At that point in my life, I was doing ECW before ECW. I was doing ECW stuff before FMW existed. I was doing all that crazy stuff, and I was like really into it. And Paulie would not accept my phone call. He called me back once, and he said, Vampiro, Paulie. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, dog, what the fuck? And he goes, hang on, I'll call you right back. And that was it. Never heard from him again. He never wanted me in ECW. Never tried to get me in. I don't know what the deal is. I talked to his mom, his brother, his cousin, his dog, his fucking... I went to a seance. I talked to his dead fucking brother's cat. Everybody. I talked to all the guys in ECW, because in Japan or wherever. And, oh, yeah, he's going to call. Man, bullshit. Then, when I got fired the first time, I got fired like about 20 times in WCW. I called Paul Lee and I said, listen man, I just got fired. And I'm with the Insane Clown Posse. Well, come tomorrow. You got a pay-per-view in 2 days. Really? Oh, I got your plane ticket. What do you mean you got my plane ticket? 'Cause I'm just calling you now. You don't got shit. I said, Paul Lee, I said, listen man, I got a family now. I need you to tell me a figure. Doesn't have to be, it could be $10, it could be $100 million. Tell me a figure. I can't do that right now. I got to think of, tell me $1. Tell me $1.50. Tell me something, and I'm there. I'll call you right back. Never heard from him again. ECW did not want me.
I'm sure there's gonna be some out there that have a different story, but
of course they got a different story. But you know what? Fuck y'all, because I got it on paper. You're lying. They didn't want me, and I tried like a bitch to get in. I would have came in for free. I loved the company. I would have came in for free.
Paul would have booked you.
Yeah, of course he would have. I wouldn't have had a choice. I wouldn't have got paid, apparently. But you can have all the different stories you want. And, you know, I can never defend myself. Because the people who do look out for me end up causing me more damage sometimes than good. But, hey, you know...
Thinking of anyone there?
What?
Thinking of anyone in particular there?
Of course I am. But that doesn't matter. And, you know, and the people who know that Bob Barnett, who he is and what he does, and yeah, he's a shit disturber, and yeah, and he's got my back 100%. And you know what? If you don't like what he does, that's not my problem. I mean, I really don't care what you think of him or me. What does bother me is you have these versions of these stories. You know, some people really are fans of wrestling, and I've gotten this reputation and this mystique and these things around me, and I've never, ever, ever, ever once defended myself, but I'm trying to do it today. And ECW did not want me. Paulie did not take my phone call. And Paulie said, Joey Styles said, well, Paulie said that Vampiro's a little erratic. What does erratic mean? That I'm like weird? That I'm like bouncy? Like I'm like here and there and here and there? Well, fucking anybody who's creative is that way, I think. And I agree. Like I'm definitely got like about 8 or 9 people living inside me, and sometimes it's a pain in the ass because I'm always getting in trouble. And I always say the wrong things at the wrong time, but hey man, that's just me, you know? And there's nothing I can do about that. That's life, you know? And I know a lot of promoters, like the WWF for instance, and ECW, don't like people like me because I'm so in control of my character, because my character is not a character, it's for real. Like I really am a punk rock musician who lived in the street, and Vince Russo tried to make me a vampire monster, and it was like, man, fuck, you don't get it. I ain't a monster. Yeah, I like the cemetery and gothic things and all that kind of shit like that, but like, I don't want to drink your blood. Are you mental? You know, I'm a fan of vampires, but fuck, that's not what this is about. This is about punk rock. And people just didn't get that about me, so. Undertaker was my gimmick. Kamala sent me to the WWF when I first started. He said, listen, if Vince McMahon saw what you were doing, he would lose his mind. I went there in Toronto. George the Animal Steel said, what do you do? Explained the whole thing. Ah, kid, you're too young, you're too skinny, you're too green. That gimmick's bullshit. This Undertaker vampire thing and coffins and all that won't work. I said, all right. 2 days later, who debuts? Undertaker. Nice. So, got that documented on tape too. So don't fuck with me. I just do. I got it all.
You filled in a lot of the gaps between working for promotions by making like short tours in Puerto Rico or Japan. We heard a rumor about a certain tour of Japan when you worked for Tenru. There's a strange reason why you left.
I don't know. What was the reason?
I heard something about a wife. Somebody's wife.
My wife?
No. We heard that somebody's wife made a pass on you and you got out of Japan.
Yeah.
That's the whole story?
Yep.
So I have to tell the story for them.
Yeah, I don't know what story you know. What did you hear? I'll tell you. But what's
your version? Why don't you tell us, because I just gave you a little bit.
I'll give you the whole thing, but what's your version? You might have the right version.
It was about when you were wrestling for 10 Years' War. There's somebody in the promotion, his wife came on.
Okay, and?
You got out of there because you just didn't want any part of it.
Yeah, that's pretty well it. Yeah. That's it. I mean...
You want me to do the rest of the interview for you, too?
No, well, hey, there's nothing else to say, you know. I didn't really want to talk about that, but
okay. No.
I don't care. But I was uncomfortable with it because a friend of mine brought me over there, and, you know, he was really important in Japan, and I didn't want to disrespect him.
Right.
I wasn't going to sleep with the guy's wife, but, you know, she was, like, beyond super friendly, you know, and I was like, fuck, this is, like, you know, pretty uncomfortable, and I would rather lose a job and look like an idiot than disrespect my friend. So I took the blame and got called a piece of shit throughout the world and got banned from Japan for like 5 or 6 years, but, you know, and my friend certainly doesn't know that. I guess he will now. Thank you.
You can get anything out you want.
No, I don't give a fuck, man.
How'd you get your in with WCW? Your first time?
Sonny Ono was in Mexico to see a show that Ultimate Dragon was doing, because they were doing an angle. You know, he was his manager, and Ultimate Dragon had like 387,000 belts at one time or something like that. And I was on the show, and I worked Yuji Nagata. And I was begging Sonny, I was like, man, look, Conan is buried me so deep in WCW, I cannot get an audition. And I'm at the point now in my career that I've outgrown Mexico. I just want an audition. He got me the audition, and Jimmy Hart, when he saw me, he was like, oh my God. And I was like, hey man, you know, it's really good to meet you. You don't remember me, but I met you in Montreal 13 years ago, and I look like Billy Idol, and we were doing it. Oh, wow. And Terry Taylor saw me work, and he was like, can you work here? And I was like, yeah, I've been doing this a while. And he says, well, let's see what you can do. And I went in there, and I didn't even get out of the ring, and they were like, sign tomorrow, Monday Nitro. Can you sign? You want to sign? You want to sign? And I was like, well, yeah, of course I want to sign. How much? And I said, well, you know, this is the size of my balls. I said, well, fuck me. This money figure. Well, that's what we give our new guys. I said, man, that's less than half the one I make in Mexico, which was a big lie. And Eric Bischoff said, come here, kid. He said, I'll sweeten the deal. I'll give you this much. I was like, where's that? And that's how it started. I went on Nitro, and I was supposed to work Sting. I was supposed to jump Dallas Page. I was supposed to come out of a gargoyle. They were going to have like this Halloween setting, you know, and I was going to be in a statue and break out of it and hit him with my driver. He said, no way. And I was like, Dallas, you don't remember me? No. I was like, you don't remember coming to Mexico City, asking me if you could be my manager and walk to the ring just so you can get some publicity and try to get a job? You don't remember that? And I said, yeah, and I hooked you up. Oh, hey, man, how you doing? I said, fuck you. You can ask him that, and I'll say it again. I'll say it to your face. And then Sting was like, no, well, you know, Sting was going through his religious deal at the time, and he didn't really want to work. And I went on TV, and I was like a heavyweight, but I moved like a lightweight, and all the heavyweight guys were like, we do this, and we do this, and we do this. We don't do this. We ain't working with him. So, and then Conan and Kevin Nash, and those guys were like, you better send him home. So I went home. That was it.
So you're still getting paid though?
I was getting paid, but it wasn't what I should have been getting paid, because I know if I was given the chance, I would have made a big difference, and I think my character would have been monstrous, and I think I could have been $1 million player.
Mm-hmm. Who got you the spot against Sting? Because that was probably your most high-profile spot while you were with WCW.
I have no idea. I have no idea. I think it was Vince Russo. I think it was Terry Taylor. It was somebody, because Sting needed something, and they were doing this whole new blood thing, and like I was getting really over as a babyface, even though I wasn't. I was supposed to be a heel, but I just can't, you know. Mm-hmm. Now that I shave my head, I can. But at the time, it was just like I never worked a heel. I didn't know what I was doing, and the fans, you know, I was always, hey, what's up, you know, cool, yeah. And people knew about me from Mexico, and J.J. Dillon was like, hey, they really like you. And I said, well, like, J.J., I've been doing this for like 16 years. It's not like I'm a fucking rookie. You know, and we used to go to like down south, and there was a lot of Mexicans, you know, and a lot of ICP fans and stuff like that. And they're like, hey, you know, you're kind of over. I was like, yeah, it's starting, you know. So Sting, I think, the face painted thing, and he was like, well, I'm the baby face. So this new blood thing, if I'm working with somebody, he's got to be the heel. And I think that's what happened. I think. Don't know, don't care, but I think that's what happened.
Were you pretty happy with how that feud went, with your TV time?
No. No, because they made us do a lot of stupid shit, and he didn't like it. And I think that if they would have let him have a little more say in the matter, the feud would have, he stopped the feud because he was like, to Vince Russo, like, this is not happening. I'm not doing it anymore. I think if they would have let him, ego-wise, have a little more say, we could have got some more mileage out of it. And plus, you know, this whole thing with me and fire and blood and all that, it was like, man, let me wrestle. Don't make me do interviews. I'm not Raven, and I'm not The Undertaker. I'm an alternative guy. Alternative people are alternative in the first place because we're too shy to talk. That's why we paint our face and dress in black and hide in the corner. Don't you get it? Well, you're wrestling, you gotta talk. So I don't gotta talk. Just look at me. Just look at the character. Watch him work. That's enough. That's why all these teenage kids that are fucking hiding at home in their bedrooms are starting to come to wrestling and buying my merchandise, because they finally got somebody they can identify with. But you try to tell a redneck from down south that, who, you know, still think the Ku Klux Klan is running the country, they don't get it. Well, you're a man, you don't wear eyeliner. I said, well, yeah, I do. Are you gay? No, it's not that I'm gay. It's, you know, it's part of the scene. What scene? Forget about it.
How disrespected do you feel with all the history that you have in Mexico?
Is this making any sense?
A little. We're gonna tie it all together. Yeah, we're gonna tie it all together. I know we are.
Come on, man. Tell me it's making some goddamn sense.
No, it is.
Is this the kind of interview you wanted?
Exactly.
No, it's not.
I'm telling you. I'll tell you off camera too. I would.
Say it on camera. What's wrong with you?
This is exactly what we want.
He's so full of shit.
Exactly.
All right.
I was going to ask you how. You mentioned that these guys, they had no clue what you did in Mexico.
They didn't. They had no
You feel
clue.
disrespected because I mean you were a bigger star in Mexico than they ever were in the States.
Yeah, I was kind of. It was a blow to the ego, but it was also like, because if a big star from Japan came to Mexico, he was treated like he was given that status. Or if a big star from Mexico, I hate to say star, you know what I mean? If a high-profile person from the company went to Japan, they were given that spot because it was worth it to the company to have inter-promotional angles. But it was like, I remember going up to Lex Luger and Sting. I said, hey, it's nice to meet you guys. And I just remember Sting just looking at me and like, and I was standing there with my hand out and he wouldn't even shake my hand. I was like, oh man, it's all right. And then I remember guys like Booker T and that, in the dressing room. I was like, I already had 16 years in the business, and like Booker T and those guys had like 6, but they were in WCW. Mm-hmm. And they were like, and I just remember sitting there and looking at Norman Smiley and looking at Conan, and I was like, do you remember when we used to be in Mexico and these guys, we used to watch WCW and there would be like 50 people in a TV studio. We were in a hotel room counting like $20,000 cash, and we were telling promoters there was like 30,000 people waiting. We were like, no man, fuck you, we're watching TV, we'll come when we want to come. But the show's on and your matches, you stop the show, I'm watching TV, hang up the phone. And now we're here, and these guys won't even say hello to us. And I was like, wow. That's when, like fame and power is a real bad drug, brother. Because people were like, how come you never came to WCW and WWF earlier? I was like, what for? I was making 20 times the money these guys were, and Hulk Hogan, who was a promotion machine, we didn't do promotion, we didn't do promos, we didn't do we didn't do that shit, and we do 20, not 10, not 15, not 6 or 7, 20 times more people than you guys ever did. Every day, all day. What are we gonna come here for? I mean, fuck you guys. We used to laugh at you. We used to sit around Monday night and watch Raw when it was first starting and laugh. And I was going, that's your biggest house? It's like, oh my God. I was like, fuck, I ain't leaving Mexico. And then when we finally did get there, it was like a whole rude awakening. Mm-hmm. Like we had all these guys, like all these big steroid monsters, and it was like, man, you guys suck. You guys just suck. So, yeah, that was that.
Seems like a perfect match, but talk about the first time you met ICP.
It was awesome. We clicked right away. They were in the arena, and Eric Bischoff said, tonight you get your break, kid. And I was like, oh, thanks, Eric. In my mind, I was like, bitch. And he was like, we're going to do this rock and roll thing, because apparently you like rock and roll. I said, yeah, that's the rumor. Well, we ever heard of Insane Clown Posse? I was like, hell yeah. I said, that's those guys right there. And I was like, hey, what's up? It was like, they were my brothers from when, like within 2 seconds, we were like best friends. And we just clicked, And it really pissed off WCW, because the first time we went out together, they had to turn down the sound on the TV because it was like, bah! Roof went off the building, man. It was crazy. It was crazy. And they used to have the security make the kids, the Juggalo fans, take off their shirts and not bring the signs in because, there was no Hulk Hogan merchandise. There was no Sting or Goldberg. It was all ICP and Vampiro. Juggalo fans. And it was like, you guys can't come in. I said, well, fuck, we just bought $80 tickets. You're not going to let us come to see the people we want to see, and we can't wear the merchandise we bought outside the building? No. So they squashed that idea right away.
How does ICP feel about all this? Because I know you talk to them, so they got bounced around everywhere. Paul Lee included.
They love wrestling. They love wrestling more than you and I put together. They are wrestling maniac fans. They love wrestling from the heart. They're big fans, and they're great people.
You want to talk about you wrestle with with their promotion?
No. Yeah, man, JCW is a great promotion because it's the guys who do the JCW, the wrestlers that are in there, do it for the love of the game. There ain't no ego. And the fans, it's specifically for ICP fans, so they're not trying to draw new fans in. So everybody who comes to see a JCW show knows what's going on, and it's off the hook. It's just like an outrageous rock concert, but it's a wrestling show, and it's always packed. JCW draws more than WCW did in their heyday. And you can say what you want to say, but we got it all documented on tape. And their tapes, you can check Billboard. Their tapes sell more than the WWF tapes. They got the highest selling, JCW Volume 1 and 2 are the highest selling tapes in the history of wrestling on VHS and DVD. It's crazy, and it's all for fun. It's a good time. It's a good time, and it's just everybody's friends, everybody's family. You can be a fan and I can be a wrestler. I can be the champion. You can be the guy that steps up the ring, but we're all in it together. It's a good time. It's what wrestling should be. Yeah.
Talk about some of the, you mentioned a lot of the promises that were made to you in WCW ended up being broken.
Pay raises, angles, pushes, the U.S. title. Jeff Jarrett refused to drop it to me because I wasn't on his level, you know. Just like that, just like everybody else, you know. The pushes. You know, they blocked me in the Misfits, for example. That was going to be huge. The whole idea was that, is I'm a musician, is that we were going to play live on a pay-per-view. Like rock the house. Like if Metallica would not be around if it wasn't for the Misfits. Misfits are a very influential band in rock and roll, period. And it was something that has never been done before. They blocked that idea. ICP and myself, ICP has a 2 million people fan base. You know how many people would have came to the arena just because ICP was there that would have helped the company? They squashed that. You know, the thing with Jeff Jarrett, you know, I was supposed to become the U.S. Champ, and Jeff said no because he was about to start a program with Goldberg, and he didn't think it was right that he would lose to somebody like me who was a no-name. You know, just things like that, you know, and sitting around there for like 14 hours. And then they say, okay, tonight you got a 6-minute match. As you're walking to the ring, the referee has the mic in his ear and he says, okay, as soon as you step through the rope, take it home. So wait a second, I was here 14 hours, I planned this bitch out all day because this guy is greener than a motherfucker and he doesn't know nothing, and I gotta go step by step like he's retarded, and we gotta go over it and over and over and over, and then I get in the ring and you say I got 30 seconds? It's like, man, you guys are just like not happening. I hated it. Yeah.
Did you ever get an offer from WW?
Yeah, they phoned me specifically to say, don't apply here, we don't want you. Bruce Pritchard did that. He said, you know, we have no interest in you. And I know why. You know, there's a few guys in the dressing room that really put that in, you know, that I was trouble. And I don't
understand. Conan's not there.
No, there's other guys that, you know, I'm not well liked by anybody in this business, except the fans that have met me and the promoters, because the promoters know that I work hard, and even though I'm broken down, I still give it my all, regardless of what you know or think you know. I would have never given up Vampiro character or name. I would have never let the WWF control the direction of my merchandise. And I'm just not into exploiting women. I'm not into violence against women. I'm not going to get body slammed and dog shit. I'm not going to, you know, I got a daughter. I think wrestling is a sport. I think you should wrestle. You know, WWF's a soap opera. I mean, they don't need me and I don't need them. I don't fit in there. There's nothing they could have done with me that would have happened. I don't belong there. They're a huge machine, a very successful machine. They're a great company. But somebody like me don't fit in there. And it wouldn't have worked.
What about the power the internet now has over wrestlers and their careers?
Oh, I think wrestlers are the biggest marks out there. I mean, you can ask any. You look at me. Even me, I got my laptop right there. I'm on that bitch all the time and reading what everybody says and what's going on. You know, because it's just like wrestlers are goofy people. You know, they don't know any better. We're always trying to get the upper hand, you know. It's good because you can see where there's work. It's a lot easier to keep in touch with promoters or people that you don't see as much, that you grew up with in one promotion that now live in other parts of the country. It's great to keep in touch. And sometimes, you know, if you have web pages and you can have forums and you keep in touch with the fans and stuff like that. But the people who spend 24/7 analyzing every single ounce of pro wrestling, you're fucked. Get a life, you know. Buy this tape. Stay off the internet. Yeah. That's what I think. I mean, come on, god damn, it's like, relax, you know what I mean? I mean, really, some of you people got to get a life, because it's just wrestling. I mean, it's a great thing, but fuck. I mean, come on. I've seen some people that are just like way off the deep end, that are like suicidal about pro wrestling. Like myself, for instance.
The other same people are coming by the tickets and see you.
No, and yes and no. I mean, it's all good, you know what I mean? But like I know some people who've gotten divorced, fans, over the amount of time that. I know one girl who was so obsessed with being on the internet and so obsessed about protecting her favorite wrestlers that her husband left her. I mean, that ain't right. You know what I mean? It's just not right, I think. You know, things like that are not cool.
You had the opportunity to go over to All Japan recently.
Yeah. And I was doing real well, and I worked up to that, you know, because All Japan is like the ultimate. If you go to All Japan, that's because you are amongst the elite, because All Japan is the elite, period. Not New Japan, not New York, not WWF. All Japan is the World Cup of pro wrestling. And you know, my wife is really sick, and just bad timing, you know. You know, I was doing real well, and I had a great position over there, and the fans were super, and my work rate was awesome, and the injury wasn't bothering me, but my wife was very sick, and I had to be home. And right before a big tour, before I was about to sign a 7-year deal for some big dough, you know, my wife called me 3 hours before the flight to Japan, and said, "Listen, man, I can't stand. You got to come home, and my family means more to me than anything," and I quit. There was nothing I could do. You know, I'll never put pro wrestling over my family. My wife needed me. You know, what am I gonna do?
How was it wrestling Kawada?
It was awesome. It was awesome, man. Let me tell you something. Kawada is the bomb, dog. And you know, I got all the tapes, and I was like, all right, motherfucker, let's just see. You know, because Misawa and Kawada, the forearms. So me and Kawada are in the ring, and he says, we'll do this, and we'll do this, and we'll do that. And I was like, yeah, all right. I was like, okay, well, we'll fucking trade them things. And, you know, we were trading it, bang, and bang, and bang, and bang. And all the guys, I could see the guys in the back, and they're going like, oh, shit. Everybody's starting to watch because it's getting a little heated, and we're fucking boom, and boom, and boom. And I hit the ropes, and I came off, and there's this thing that Matt Fury teaches, you know, it's a philosophy, like and it's one of his books called The Martial Art of Wrestling, that one of the things that you do when you really want to knock someone out is you put a red X, for example, behind the person's head, and you got to go through that person's head to crush the X. So you can just imagine in your mind what that does, the momentum, when you hit the target. That's the secret to knocking people out in football and boxing and hockey and body checking and judo and wrestling, is you do that. So me, I put that X behind Kawada's head, and I hit the rope, and I came off, and I was like, boom! And Kawada flew from the middle of the ring, and he fell out of the ring. But he stood up, and his eyes were like that, and he's got no teeth, and he was like, and he came back in the ring, and he was like, and I was like, oh man, fuck, I gotta do something, because I know it's coming. And I stuck out my chin, and I was like, and all the guys in the dressing room were like, no, don't stay there, don't stay. Everybody was like, move, because he's coming with that fucking kick. And he hit the ropes, and he just came running with that kick, and he put that kick up, and I went, and he went, boom! And I just laughed my ass off, because I mean, he got up and he kicked my ass after that, but you had to be there. It was.
We're gonna put that in the tape. Don't worry.
It was funny at the time. I thought it was funny. Man.
You had to leave because of, or you couldn't make the tour because of family reasons.
Yeah.
Was there any contact with him since? Or?
No. And I was super disappointed because my wife had cancer of the cervix. And Mrs. Bubba's husband died of cancer, and I thought that, you know, that I'm not looking for sympathy, I'm not looking for a poor boy, you know, I just thought there would be some kind of understanding, like, you know, hey man, it's my wife, it's the mother of my baby. That's the person who saved my life. She's the one I live for. Not one of the guys. Nobody. It was like, liar, lazy, liar, chicken, you know, same thing. I'm getting attacked on the internet all over again. It was like, man, you know what? I work, came back from all these injuries. I've had like 8 knee operations. I've broken every bone in my body, and I got brain damage now. And when I'm like in my 40s, I'm gonna have trouble speaking and walking. And this is what, and I train every day at 5 a.m. I'm up doing this shit, and I do it twice a day. And this is what I do. And you know, I did the right thing by taking care of my wife, and like, you call me a liar again. It's like, you know what? I mean, fuck y'all, really.
Sounds like you hear your critics louder than your fans.
No, it's because these critics bombard the fans, and that offends me because the fan. And when you can't defend yourself, and the fans say, "Oh man, you let us down again." It's like, I didn't let you down. I just need time to take care of my family. I'll be back. You know, I'm not a quitter. You know, I believe, and I know very well that you guys work hard for your money, and it takes a lot to bring your family to wrestling. And I'm the one, and it wasn't Goldberg who stands outside in the rain and signs every kid's autograph and stays 2 and 3 hours after the matches. It was me, and it still is me. Even today, I was fucked up like crazy. You saw me walking, shuffling my feet. I couldn't get it together. I talked to everybody. Always do. Wasn't me, Shane Douglas, who cut the 45-minute promo how he built pro wrestling here in Philadelphia, who scooted the fuck out the back door so nobody can see him and you wouldn't have to talk to any fans. It was me who stuck around to say thank you. So when somebody who has influence on the internet tells the fans, he backed out again. It's like, man, I backed out once because I didn't want to fuck your boss's wife and get you fired and me killed. I didn't go the second time because my wife's got cancer. I mean, come on. Give me a break. So, you know, I got all these people, he doesn't know how to wrestle anyways, and he sucks, and he's overrated. Well, fuck yeah, I'm overrated. It's not my fault. You guys put me on the pedestal. I'm just trying to have fun.
How do you judge your work rate?
I think it's pretty cool right now because, you know, since my injury, I had to I used to do all the moonsaults and flips and Mexican style. But since I've been spending time with Matt Fury, and because of my neck injury, I've had to learn how to wrestle again. And I'm really into the old school style. And I don't mean the old school Harley Race Ric Flair style. I mean strong style, like a competition, like it used to be. Like catch wrestling, like submission wrestling, almost like UFC style with no punching and trying to kill a guy, you know? Mm-hmm. Like a lot of holds and just making it more believable. And because when I'm allowed to guide the match, you know, I use a lot of submission type things and techniques, and a lot of the throws I use are judo throws, and a lot of the submission things I put on are legitimate submission things. I mean, you can go onto Matt Fury's site and buy his instructional tapes, and it's me sparring with him. You know, and Dave Meltzer said, well, no, he didn't really go train with Matt Fury. Well, not only does Matt sell the tape, but I'm in all of his books. I mean, come on. See, I hate that shit. Like, it's like I'm not lying. It's on videotape. It's for you to see that I shaved my head, and I got away from...
That's why Meltzer didn't know. You shaved your head, no one recognized.
I mean, I got away from Vampiro, and I'm relearning because I love it so much that I want to give you something different. I want to make it real again. And it's like, you're stupid. Fuck, man, I can't win.
Well, what was, I think I know, but what was the rationale?
Well, yeah, if you know, then you tell me.
Well, trying to make a change and reinvent yourself.
Is that why I shaved my head?
I don't know, I'm asking you now.
No, my wife said, you'd be more handsome with short hair. And I said, okay, we'll shave my head. And she just got clippers out and did it just like that, and that's it.
Really?
Yeah. And she goes, well, yeah, you're cuter, but man. I was like, well, fucking, thanks. It only took me 18 years to grow them dreadlocks. I could have got $60,000 to drop that hair in Mexico, but I did it because you said I'd be cuter. Thought you'd like it.
That was a criticism on the net for sure.
Yeah, but you know what? Fuck that. It's pride, man. Who am I gonna lose to?
Yeah.
Just to make you famous after something I built? I got a little bit of pride. Maybe it's ego, maybe it's not. But it's not about the money. It's about the love of the game. I'm not just gonna drop my hair for a paycheck. And my hair was everything. That was me living under a car in LA. That was me being homeless. That was me not having no money. That was me coming from a broken home. I mean, that was my life. And if anybody was going to cut it, it was either going to be my wife or my daughter. Because I love them. I'm not going to give some fucking guy just because he wants an ego boost. I could have took the money. That's a lot of money. But, you know, it ain't about the money, man. You can't do everything for money. Sitting here today, sometimes I rethink that. But I would have never dropped it for the money.
I keep thinking
It's shot, but believe me, when I came back to Mexico, I was like, yeah, look, man, I live in here again. I called the Arena Mexico. You know, I said, it's been 5 years. You know, you got a pay-per-view on Sunday. Let me show up. Just let me come on out. Fuck, okay, yeah, we'll do it, you know. And I came out, man, and I was bawling. People were like, oh, what the? It was just like a bomb went off. People were shocked. Front page news, man. It was like, nah. And I was like, yeah, man. It was, no. And I was like, yes, motherfucker, it's gone. Look, it shocked the world. People tonight when I came out, and they were like, wait. Yeah, I looked at the tattoo. Oh, okay.
I don't think they gave you any response until you took off your coat, and they said, that is him.
When it came on, I was like, wait a second, it's a neo-Nazi skinhead coming out here to cut a promo about fucking Mein Kampf or something with that bomber jacket on. I was like, no. That's just a different deal, man. It's funny.
When you were talking about
it was a good interview. It was probably one of the better interviews I've ever done. I hope you're liking it. If you don't like it,
I'm loving it. I'm seeing how much we can stretch it out here with the time. When you were saying all that stuff, I was thinking about something that happened tonight, about things that you don't do sometimes for money, you do it for pride. Bigelow walked out tonight.
Yeah, good move. What a pro, huh? I love Bam Bam. Nothing bad to say about him. I love Bam Bam Bigelow, man. He saved children's lives in a fire. He ran in there and he risked his life and he saved kids. He is a man. He is famous. He is a big star in the world of pro wrestling. But man, it's time to pass the torch, dog. That's why, like last night, I went to this show in Detroit. There was like 80 kids there. And they were like, hey, Vamp, can you help us out? And I was like, fuck yeah. Well, we need you to wrestle 4 times. I said, yeah, no problem. And you got to win. I was like, no. He's got to win. He's your local hero. He's got to beat me. Why I got to win for? I don't need to win. Really? Yeah. But the kid was crying. Like I was like, man, stop fucking hugging me already. You know, it's just you know what I mean? It was a cool moment. It was a special moment. You know, Kea is the next guy in Japan. Period. He's the next guy in the world. He's the next Muda. He's the next Kobashi. He's the next Hogan. That's the way it is. He's here in the United States. I mean, he's the deal. I mean, come on. And it was like, Bam Bam was supposed to lose to him in the first match. He goes, you kidding me? I ain't doing the job. And he walked out of the building. And I was like, man, you just did that in front of all these new kids who idolized you. And all these young kids, this is their first show, and they're here for free. And you're getting a lot of money. And you just walked out the door. You made yourself look like an idiot. And Bam Bam, if you get word of this, I love you, brother, and you'll always be my boy. I'm down for you for whatever. But I just don't agree with what you did tonight. You got your own reasons, and I respect that. You know, he's got a big name, and maybe he thought that would affect him. But hey, first of all, we're all unemployed right now. We all got families to feed. Plus, we're the ones that we got to set examples. This promotion ain't going to get off the ground if we all fuck it up. And I just don't think it was the right thing to do. I think it was wrong because there was a lot of people there that had Bam Bam Bigelow t-shirts on tonight. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes, man, you just got to roll with the flow. La Parca is a megastar in Mexico. I'm not talking I'm talking The Rock and Hogan and Austin in one. Parker is he is the man in Mexico. And he's here. He's here for nothing. Beat him in the first match for like in 8 minutes. Oh, yeah, sure, whatever you need to do. I mean, that's a pro. Me, Kea, I was like, Kea, motherfucker, I'm tired. It says, I'll take it easy on you. And it was like, bam! I was like, Kea, man, you just knocked me out. I was like, ref, I can't breathe. I'm knocked out. I don't know where I am. And this was like 2 minutes into the match. And I was like, Kea, brother, you just knocked me the fuck out. I can't breathe. Oh, don't worry, I'll take care of you. Bang! I was like, Kea, you just knocked me out again. I got a concussion, motherfucker. I can't breathe. And we still went 20 minutes. And they fucked up the finish. Your champion. I still did the 20 minutes and you saw the way I was walking. I couldn't move my feet, but I still did it. You gotta be a pro, dog.
What was the finish supposed to be?
What it was, but not at the time. When I kicked him in the face for real, that wasn't supposed to happen. And that wasn't my fault. I did that once to Hulk Hogan. That was the first time I saw Hulk Hogan get fired up too. I was like, Hulk, man, just stick your chest up, brother. He was all right. I was like, bang! He was like, took that do-rag off, and he was all fired up. And Hulk's strong, let me tell you. When he gets pissed off, he can throw. I found out. But anyways.
Was there any other critics that you wanted to respond to? I know that you wanted to use this interview as a chance to defend yourself in a lot of ways.
I just want to get paid, man.
Where you did that?
Then we're all good. No, man. Everybody, like Dave Meltzer. I think Dave is super cool. Everybody hates Dave Meltzer, but they love Dave Meltzer. All the wrestlers hate Dave Meltzer, but they're the only ones that subscribe to his shit. It's like, that's his business. And that's what he does. He's a critic. And he will be the first one to tell me, say, look, man, you fat, lazy motherfucker, you really suck today. And I love him for that because I know he knows what he's talking about. And there's other times, like when I least expected, he was like, oh my God, Vampiro was like this and this. And I was like, wow. I mean, I think Dave Meltzer's cool. I don't care. You can tell me I suck all you want. I just really respect Dave Meltzer. Them kids at Highspots.com, they're all right too. Rob Feinstein, you're the one that sucks dick. I'm not a fag. Leave me alone. And that other punk-ass bitch that writes for you in Toronto who's never even been to a match, stay off the lucha board because you can't translate Spanish, you don't speak Spanish, and you fuck it up all the time. And, did I mention Rob Feinstein's gay?
No.
Okay. Because he's been going on and on and on and on that Bob Barnett and I are lovers, which is the farthest thing from the truth. Well, in fact, it's a well-stated, well-known fact that a speculation, because I wasn't there to see it, that Rob Feinstein, I don't want to say that he gave oral sex to Victor Quinones for some tapes in Japan 10 years ago, but that's the rumor. You see how things get started? It just snowballs from there.
The internet.
I don't know. I heard that, I don't want to say it's true, but the fact that he lives with a man and he's never been seen with a woman, right, people tend to believe that kind of shit, right?
I don't even know what question to ask you next.
Did I cross the line on that one?
No, you know what everybody always tells me who knows you, they say, have you ever seen his wife?
And?
Apparently you got one of the prettiest, most respected wives that all the wrestlers they ever met.
My wife is either she needs glasses or something, or there's something happened and she was drugged or something, because she is drop dead gorgeous. She is stunning. She is I look at her every day and fall in love a million times. I am so lucky. She is, and that ain't from punching heavy bags, motherfucker. I tell you right now, there's some bastards that have been knocked the fuck out. And my wife is, and thank God, because of the way people see how I act around. When I bring my wife around, and I don't like doing it in this business, but when I do, people see the way I treat my wife and the way I speak to my wife. They show her nothing but great love. because my wife is my life, and I let it be known way ahead of time. Don't even raise your voice, because we'll be fighting.
Sure.
Yeah, I love my wife, and she's gorgeous. And I've had guys like, oh my God. I'm like, fucking settle down, man. Just tell me she's pretty. Jesus Christ. You got any? Yeah, I got pictures of my wife, but you can't see them. Well, maybe one. But yeah, I'm pretty lucky, man, because my wife is I met my wife when she was real young. Like, she was like 6. And I'm kidding. She was 8. I met my wife at a wrestling match. She brought her little brother to see me. And I saw her, and I saw this girl, and I was like, it was like, you know, it was like a love at first sight thing. According to her, it was only love at first sight for me, but I think she's lying. And I saw her, and I was with Norman Smiley, and I was like, and I said to her, you know, she spoke English, and I just, her face and her name, and I was like, Norman, I'm gonna marry this girl. He was like, you're out of your fuck. I said, brother, I'm telling you now. And I said, how old are you? He told me how old I was, and I was like, oh, fuck, you're lying, right? She goes, no. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna marry her, but I gotta wait. But I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna wait, and I won't date another girl. And he looked at me, and I was at the peak of Vampiro mania in Mexico, and everything was, and I was like, I'm telling you now, that's the girl. He was like, man, you're fucking, did you take drugs already? And I was like, no, I'm telling you, she is the one, and I'm gonna wait. And I waited, and I'm telling you, it was beyond worth it, because she is a gift from God.
That's great.
I'm not showing you a picture either. Sick bastards. Who said that about my wife?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. You do soon know.
We'll talk about it after.
No, you tell me now. I'm telling you, Rob Feinstein blew Victor Quinones. You won't tell me who said my wife was beautiful?
All right, Norman told me.
Yeah, then I know it's for real.
God. Can you just...
It's speculation.
Right, it's just a rumor.
No, it's not.
Can you talk about some of I mean, you were involved in so many, but can you talk about some of the really big matches in Mexico, some of the ones that broke the history at the gate? Some of your memories of it?
I don't think anyone's going to beat the Rob Feinstein Victor Quinones.
No, I know. I'm just trying to kill the rest of the time, and I don't know if I want to
Kill time? Come
I
on,
don't know
man. This is a great interview.
This is great. I don't
is
know how much
good.
more we can talk about Rob without Rob maybe...
Man, fuck Rob, man. If it's your fault, leave me alone and pay your bills, bitch. That's speculation, too. The biggest match, the big match that got me famous was against a guy called Pirata Morgan. It was the first time I bled, but I didn't bleed. I had a shark bite. I looked like JFK. It was sick. It was like, I remember going after the match like this, and it was like, and I peeled off a sheet of blood and I held it up like that. It was nasty. I bled like JFK, and people were like vomiting in the arena because every time I hit my head on the turnbuckle, it was like, and it was like squirting out for like 20 minutes. So like I wouldn't stop bleeding, so I was like blacking out, and it was like fucking blood, and it was really nasty. And that set up a hair match, and that was the biggest entrance in the history of Mexican wrestling at the time. They had 22,000 people in the arena, 9,000 people in the street with big screen TVs set up around the arena for all the people to see. It was a huge deal, and that was with 5 days promotion.
You ended up taking his hair.
What you gonna do?
Did you end up taking his hair a second time, like 7 years later?
And then I started taking it like once. Like there was his kid's birthday. He had like 6 kids. So every time a birthday came around, like we'd take his hair like about 8-9 times a year.
So buying presents for the kids.
Yeah, in different parts of the country. Like one time, we did a hair match 2 times in one day. But in one place, he just cut it really short, and then we go to the arena in another place, and then we shaved it. So Mexico's weird. I don't know. That was a big match. My first title match was against Connect in his home arena, which was the competition for my arena. And I was the biggest babyface in the country, but when I went there, people wanted to murder me. And I beat him, and he was like El Santo en Mil Máscaras. He's like a legend. And I beat him in his ring. And his big thing is he beats all the foreigners. Like the foreigners beat him, and then like 5 days later he beats him back, so he's the hero. But when I won the title, it was the UWA belt. It was the oldest belt in the history of wrestling. My boss said, "No, fuck it. You keep it for like a year." And he was like, "Hey." I was like, "Hey man, I can't do the job." My boss said I can't go. So I had like this like major belt for a year, right? And I didn't even know how to tie my own boots yet. So that was kind of funny. That was a big match. And my favorite match was my match with Keiya and Muda in Japan. It was a 30-minute draw. That was a big match for me. The day I won the WWC title in Puerto Rico against Carlos Colon's kid, that was a big match for me. All the matches I've had in Southern California and Los Angeles have all been great big matches for me. My pay-per-view with Stink, when I lit him on fire, was a big match. I didn't like the match, but it was like, I guess, a big moment, right?
What about teaming with Muda?
Awesome. He's my like idol. So that was like a huge deal. It was embarrassing as a motherfucker when they gave us the belts, and the next day he got beat by Puvitude. It was like a slap in the face. I was embarrassed from Muda. I was kind of like, I was really embarrassed. I was like, at least pin me, don't pin Muda. I mean, come on. But just being around Muda's presence, it was an honor. I've had some big matches, but like to tell you the truth, when I get to come to shows like tonight, and I come out and I get applause, or at the end of the match, big huge pops and like a little standing ovation because of the work ethic. Mm-hmm. Those are the favorite matches. You're just like speechless, aren't you?
You are. You're stunning me. You've been wrestling.
You're all tied up about this Rob Feinstein thing. Mm-hmm. You're gonna get some heat on that one.
I know, and I got some.
You're gonna edit. You're gonna edit that, aren't you?
No, I won't edit a word you say. I promise you.
You're okay.
I promise.
All right.
I won't edit a word you say. You've gone back to Mexico recently. Matter of fact, I saw you in Mexico a few months ago.
Were you there?
Yeah.
Really?
Came out with
What were you doing there?
Just a fan, just watching.
And you didn't say hello?
I didn't know you.
So? You didn't know me today. I went up to you and I said, "Hey, you're the guy who wants to interview," and you were like, "Who the fuck are you?" And I'm like, "Well, Vampiro." "Ah, your hair." I was like, "Well, yeah." So I mean, what'd you see me?
I'm sorry. It was right in Mexico. It was one of your first. Actually,
Did I have red hair?
I think it was the second time you were back. It must have been right after.
And I ripped Dr. Wagner's mask off?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got in a big fight in the dressing room about that after. Me and Silver King. Because, see, what happened was I came back to Mexico like 9 months earlier. I was on vacation. I said, "Hey, man, it's not about the money. I want to wrestle. Because this is where I started. Let me come back." And, Dr. Wagner, he's a weird guy. Something happens to him when he goes in the ring. Like he's like possessed. By what? I don't know. I think it's like assholeitis that gets into him sometimes. And he fucking drop kicked me in the knee from the side, and my leg went bang. It was just hanging. My leg was like extended to the side, and I was like, "What the fuck?" It was like I got hit by a car. I looked like a deer on the side of the road. I was like, and I rolled on the floor, and my leg, I just blew my knee out, and it was like, oh my God. I was like, "What were you thinking?" "Oh, it was an accident." I was like, "Look at the TV. You ran like fucking Carl Lewis and high jumped something and drop kicked the fuck out of my knee. What were you thinking? There was no accident." You know what I mean? An accident is when you trip on the stairs. An accident ain't when you drop kick a motherfucker in the knee and break his leg in half. So that, I was about to get a major program, like a 9-week run in the Arena Mexico for like a title and all that. And my boss was like, "You're my castigo," which means like I'm paying for, it's because of you I got a fucking ulcer, because like I've given him heart attacks throughout my whole career, my boss, My knee was like this big. I went home, I was hoping for sympathy. My wife was like, "Broken neck. Look at your leg." It's like, just tell me no, fucking idiot. Like, "Did you see the TV?" "No, but you're always doing things like that. You're breaking your neck, you're breaking your back." I was like, "No, I have no friends." So I'm thinking to myself, I'm coming back to the Arena Mexico. I'm in better shape. I've learned how to submission wrestle.
By the way, it's 2:45 in the morning. Your phone's ringing. You want to pause that? You want to get that? Or?
Nah, man, fuck it. So I was like, it's like, you know, what's that all about? I know what it's about. You know what it's about, but I didn't want to deal with that. And just in case my wife sees this, it's because like somebody else won something, and I don't do that kind of stuff anymore, and I'm not like getting involved. I'm not going to say any names because, like, you know, I just don't want to be pegged as a drug dealer. Not saying that somebody was phoning for drugs or anything like that, but just in case you were speculating, like people speculate about Rob and Victor Quinones,
Rob's
right?
gonna start rumor about you being
Now
a drug
fuck
dealer
Rob.
now.
Yeah, well.
But you're coming back for.
Okay, so anyways, I'm thinking to myself, I'm coming back. The whole world saw it because they showed it on the news. It was like serious injury, wrestling stars like out, you know, and they showed it over and over in slow motion like it was like a big deal. So I'm thinking to myself, I told my boss, I said, look, I'm coming back. That's the obvious thing is I'm coming back for revenge to kill him. And his brother is working in a singles match. They said, no, well. You know, this Black Tiger image and Liz Mark Jr., we're trying to set up a singles match. I'm going like, first of all, no one gives a fuck about you two guys. Not being rude, but they just don't. You both got this much charisma right there. And people want to see me kill your brother. Silver King and Dr. Wagner are brothers. And there's a huge competition. When those guys are partners in the ring, doesn't matter what you say or what you do, what's on the line, it's like out the fucking window because things just change. So I told my boss, we gotta go. We gotta fight. I gotta kill him. I gotta set it up. Yeah, you do what you want to do. I said, no. You okay it. And he's like, okay, it's okay. We get to the arena, my boss isn't anywhere to be found. And they said, well, we're gonna set up this thing with these two guys. I said, well, what about, you know, me breaking my knee here? You guys do what you gotta do, but this is the main emphasis of the match. So I told Wagner, I said, he said, no, you just listen to me out there. I said, oh, fuck, here we go. So we're about to go into the finish, and Liz Mark and Silver King are doing everything in the book. High, flip, fly, fucking running each other over with cars, and the people were like, yeah, real exciting. So Dr. Wagner comes in and says, rip off my mask. And it was like a leather mask. And usually when you rip someone's mask, you cut it a little bit so it's easier to rip, right? And this motherfucker wouldn't rip, so I was like, and I was deadlifting him and bouncing him over, and I finally ripped it, and I almost tore his head off, and it was like, after the ref saw that, I was like, fuck, well, I gotta kind of DQ the match now, so it threw everything out of whack. It was violent as hell, because I almost had to kill the guy. We get to the dressing room, and Silver King is freaking out, and this and that, and he's pushing and shoving me, and I was like, hey, it's like, I don't got a problem, before we fight, you know, don't, and all the agents came in, and what the fuck, and I said, hey, I'll fight everybody, just line up, don't jump me and beat my ass, you know, like I'll defend myself, but he's the one who called it. Ask him, he's your brother. And he was like, yeah, I did it. Well, no, that. I said, hey, wait a second. He just said, he called it, motherfuckers, leave me alone. So, you know, it was a big sting, and then we got in like a big brawl, and I never went back.
You haven't been back since?
No. But I'll go back next week just to piss him off. But it was funny at the time. I thought it was hilarious because it was like, that's my big angle. And, you know, the people, I said, look, hey man, the people didn't even know you're fucking there. You could be Pink Tiger with a big dick hanging out of your ass, like Rob Feinstein. And it still wouldn't matter. And, you know, I'm just using Rob as an example.
I was about to say, you have no chance to get a shoot interview out of him after this one, you know?
Yeah, I'm all heartbroken about that. I'm real torn up about it. Fuck you, Rob Feinstein. You started this 10 years ago. You shouldn't have sucked that dick. But anyways, what else?
What else?
I don't know. You're the wrestling guy.
I just remember when you first started with WCW.
How about them Red Wings?
When you first started with WCW.
Was Kay's interview like this?
I'm going to show you clips of KA's.
I didn't want to see that. Oh,
Matter of
man,
fact,
I got insomnia. I might need to see it. I can just imagine, well, you know, I started in the dojo with my uncle, and I was in high school, and I was wrestling, and I was like, good. What?
I think you just said more words than Kaya did this morning.
Yeah, I could imagine. I just know Kaya. Okay, what?
I just remember when you first started with WCW, you had some heat with Juventud Guerrera about using his finishing maneuver.
You mean the one that Michinoku made up like 10 years before either of us even started wrestling? Oh, that one. Yeah, I heard what he said. Did he do the interview with you or did he do it with Rob Finkelstein?
It's the other guy.
Your competition. Wait, shit. Highspot.com. Yeah, I mean, Juventud was my fan. Juventud used to go with his father to the ring, to the matches, and offer to carry my bag in the dressing room just so he can hang out with me because he was a heavy metal freak. And his dad was like, hey man, it's my kid's birthday and you got like this cool jacket and he's your, I was like, fuck, give it to him, man, tell him happy birthday. You know what I mean? And Juventud was like, all happy. He's gay too, by the way. Well, bisexual. And then he does this whole fucking whining, crying act about this one move, you know, like the Hoovy driver. And I went to WCW, and he can do like 450s, 360s, 2580s, whatever else there is to do that you can do when you're 38 pounds. You know, you can do all that flipping and flying, right? And I said to Terry, I said, listen, man, I can kick really hard and kick high and kick fast, or I do this power move. It's easy and it's safe. Okay, that's your finish. Juventud lost his friggin', flipped his, he had a stink. They had to have a special emergency meeting about it because he was going to have an aneurysm about that. We actually both got suspended and fined until we came up with a solution who was going to get the finish. Terry Taylor went to bat for me. Kevin Nash, Hoovy, Psychosis, Scott Hall, Eric Bischoff were all for Hoovy. And it was like, Hoovy, we were in a room and Hoovy was kicking chairs and crying, whining and this and that. And I was like, okay, I'll do something else. And they were like, that's it? And I was like, well, yeah. It's like, you know, it's really not that big a deal. And Hoovy was like, you know what, man? You can use it when you want to. And I was like, oh, geez, thanks, Hoovy. You're a pretty cool guy.
Do you, I know a lot of those WCW.
I'm kind of a smart ass too sometimes. See, it's your fault. You got me going. I'm waking up now.
Uh-oh.
And I'm drinking, this is like my 45th Coke, so.
A lot of the Lucha guys got blackballed out of Mexico for the time they got to spend in WCW.
They all did. Yeah.
Did you experience any of that?
Or
Or do you feel you're blackballed maybe for other reasons?
I was never really blackballed, you know. I just didn't want to go back. Kind of grew. It's like I can't be Vampiro from 10 years ago, you know. I don't want to be Vampiro from 10 years ago. But a lot of guys did, you know, they did the wrong thing, you know. And I don't know the whole story. I wasn't involved. I didn't want to get involved, but yeah, a lot of them, you know, are just completely out of work now because of it. You should ask. And I'm not pointing fingers, but I know you should ask Conan that one day because he would know the story because he was a lot more involved in that than I was. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to solve? We're getting close to the end of the tape here, but I know this is.
You just put another tape in there and keep this going. you can have it like a 2-for-1, dog. It's up to you, man. You know, I'm just, you know, I'm a real hard person to be around. When the show's over, the show's over. You know, I'm real quiet and I'm real kind of weird. I like to be alone, but I love what I do and I'm very appreciative of the fans. I take it very seriously and personally. I get hurt a lot when I'm criticized for the wrong reasons and I can't defend myself. All the people out there who think you know everything, you really don't know shit. And you can attack me all you, and I'm sure I'm gonna get in nothing but trouble after this tape gets out there. But you know what? It's all good, man. I mean, life is meant to be lived. And this is 10 years. This is 18 years in the making. I've been doing this. And I don't know any of you motherfuckers. And you attack me, you know, just go away. You know, attack someone else. Attack yourselves. I mean, be happy. Go to church. Believe in God. I'm telling you. Start to like yourselves and you won't be so miserable and have to pick on people like me who are just trying to feed their family. Fans, I love you. You're good people. Wrestling critics, you know what I mean? It's good. You guys keep this going. I don't know, you know. I don't know what else to say. A lot of people say I'm arrogant and I'm an asshole and I'm overrated, and probably. And I'm sorry. I know I've offended a million people throughout my career, and I never meant it personally. But I'm human, you know. And you know, if you like what I do, I'm very grateful. If you don't like what I do, I'd like the opportunity to win you over. And if it still don't work, well, hey, I did my best, and you know, that's life. You know, but I got other things to do. Believe me, I don't lose any sleep over it. You can come and spit and scream and cry and whine, and I don't really give a fuck.
I want to thank you immensely, and I do mean that. This was a fantastic interview for everybody watching, and an enjoyable one for us as well.
Oh, and I want Rob Feinstein to thank me, because I know you've had a hard time coming out of the closet, brother. And it's okay. You gotta be you. You should be proud. Fly the flag, brother. It's okay. You're everywhere. There's gay people all over the place. It's a good thing, man. Don't hide it. Just come on out.
That'll wrap up another edition of a Highspots interview, this time with Vampiro. Thank you again.
Peace.